Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about Advantage Tennis. Aaron, it's been a while since we've done sports on Amigos.
That's right. Far too long.
But before we dive in to the world of sport, the wide world of sport, we got news, Aaron. We got Twitter news.
Okay.
Twitter. You don't do the Twitter, do you?
I've never fully understood the appeal or the interest in Twitter, and I don't like the way I just don't understand how to use it exactly. I hate to say that because that's like an old guy.
Well, you do maintain a Hotmail email address, so.
Hey, I am a hot male.
We got 600 followers on Twitter.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So thank you to
I
all.
need to follow us.
Yeah, thank you to all the folks that that follow us on Twitter, and you know, there's so many great guys. That's how I follow basically all of the news, because any retro news has got they've got a Twitter account. Retro Man Cave, he's always posting up stuff. So it's an easy way. It's sort of like I use it like an RSS feed, you know, basically. So anyway, thank you to our Twitter followers. We also got a letter from our pal, the Slow Norris.
Good old Slow.
Yeah. This is in regards to the Amigo Aaron's weight loss wager.
Hey, very good.
And he says, I'm in on Aaron's wager. I'll do 50 cents a pound. However, he says, I need to lose 30 pounds myself. And after losing 0 in January, I'm raising you, Aaron, so to speak. He's going to pledge $1 for every pound he doesn't lose by Amigathon, plus whatever he's putting towards you.
So if he doesn't lose his 30 pounds, we'll get 30 extra bucks.
That's
on top
right.
of what I made.
That's right.
A bold challenge. But I'm betting that Slow Norris is going to get up the testicular fortitude to get those 30 pounds.
I think so. He seems like that kind of a guy.
I agree.
He says, good luck, Aaron. I'm in it with you. Let's change some habits. You've changed quite a few habits as of late.
This is true.
Finally quit smoking after all these years.
Yeah.
So I also want to thank the Huck for chiming in, for pitching in, pledging some money for the weight loss wager, and Matt Soft. So they keep on trickling in week after week.
Beautiful, man. Hey, without saying anything too decisive, I'm in it. I'm working on it.
All right. Well, Aaron, I hear that train a-coming. It's rolling around the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since last week's Amiga news. Let's get to it. Roll up the gamble train, Aaron.
All right, boat. So, for those that live under a rock, the boat had just a couple weeks back from Ireland, and so I was lingering around. First thing we'll talk about is another fella that was.
Do you have to let it linger?
I have to. I have to let it linger. So, this is a fellow. This is going to be fun. This is part of the reason I chose this video. Adam Podstawizinski. I think that's his name. That sounds right, don't it?
Sounds great.
He has a video up on his YouTube page. He was also there and shot a little video. So if you want to get just a little more flavor from the show, Boater, you're seeing this for the first time. How does that look about right to you?
This looks just like I'm there. You know, this looks like it was Friday night. This might have been before I made my grand entrance. But yeah, all the gang. If you want to see him again for the first time, you can check out this guy's video. Post it up on our Google Plus.
Is this in a basement or what?
No, it's in a hotel ballroom.
I see.
Yeah.
It just the ceiling was odd. It looked kind of
well,
low.
they have odd ceilings in Ireland. It's part of the thing.
That's part of it. Yeah. You know, we got a pal, a good buddy. I don't think we talked about this last week. We might have. Our buddies over at The Guru did a live D-Paint demo.
I don't even like to do tape D-Paint demos.
Have you ever really full D-Paint aside from their Amigathon?
I was going to say, I feel like we pretty much mastered the program over the course of our
I was embarrassed by my effort on the show. I really was. I just didn't know what to do.
The world will never forget Lee Melangelo.
Well, man, even I sadly remember that. Moving on. So yeah, please don't don't worry, the Guru Boys are far better at deep paint than we will ever be. All right, submission from our good buddy, the Pixel at Dawn. Resurrecting an Amiga 500. Did you see this article, Boat?
I have not seen this yet.
It's exactly.
So this is from Hackaday, which I actually visit. I was at this website earlier today, actually.
Yeah?
This is a great site where they do all kinds of wacky projects.
Yeah, and this is an article where you can see that in the pictures, if you're viewing at home, you can see when you see that many jumper wires.
You know something's going down.
Something's went bad.
Yeah.
There's a big beefy wire, so there's been some traces that
like
got
14 gauge
and by the
wire
way, if
there.
you look at that picture right there, what's right beside the traces? What's it say right there?
Battery.
So I'd wager that they dumped a bunch of acid on that board. So if you're interested, and who isn't interested in watching some dude spend hundreds of man hours to resurrect a 35-year-old machine or whatever? There you go. Boat, you crazy nut, you in a live stream this week, just go jump on this now. You tried this week's game in front of God and Earth, everyone out there. And I watched you, and it looked like you were playing tennis on Super Crack.
Well, you know, it's funny because this stream is an hour and 6 minutes long, and I went back and watched it again. The first 30 minutes are solely dedicated to getting this game to run correctly.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
welcome to emulation on the Amiga.
And I concur. And now, of course, hopefully your emulation days are coming to an end.
Yes.
Now that Boat has taken back the Hux 600, and he's planning on getting it fixed up and working on that here, so he'll have a proper Amiga again.
Right.
Let's talk about our good buddy, the Fig.
Oh, yeah.
The Figster. He was over in Ireland as well. And he's got the Refi's Amiga Ireland 2019 Party Report.
Yeah, so see, these guys are like two sides of the same coin. You got Refi CTZ and Figgy CTZ.
I see.
Okay, and Refi wrote up this, and I got to know Refi a little bit when I was over there. Stand-up fella, nice guy. Yeah, and this is his report. You can see the view
Also,
from.
this is strictly Refi's. I thought this was Figgy and him.
Oh,
I
no.
thought they teamed
No,
up.
no,
on
this was all reflection.
I'll
Yeah.
edit my little description.
Yeah, and you can see the view from the back of Paul Harrington's car here. This is the view that I had going back to the airport in the wee hours of the
Now, was
morning.
that a rental car?
It was a rental car.
Nice
And
car?
It was a large car by European standards, which is about the size of a Ford Escort here.
And how's Paul's driving?
Oh, Paul, he was a stalwart figure at the wheel, while the rest of us were in various states of inebriation. He led the charge. He did a good job.
Let me ask you a question. Now, I'm not familiar with it. Right off the top of my head, do the Irish drive on the same side of the road we do?
No, they drive on the left.
They're on
just
the
like
left
in
as
England.
well.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
yeah.
there you
Now,
go.
since he's originally from Northern Ireland, the driving duties were easier for him than for us. Yeah.
Outstanding. So, man, I've enjoyed. Our good buddy, the Huck,
Yes.
Gary Hucker, New Zealand's own, as I recall.
Giver of all good gifts, such
Yes.
as the 600 and the Spectrum.
He has been up and at 'em this week with some videos as he attempts to resurrect the Amiga 2000. This thing was a beat-down unit, and he has a couple videos up this week. One of him actually getting it to fire up, which, as I recall, he had to reseat some chips. There was some corrosion in there that he cleaned up. It wasn't too tough in his first video, and he had to put a new battery in. Second video, he puts out all the goodies. He puts in the accelerator, several RAM boards, and I thought to myself, "There's no conceivable way this can work." I mean, he had like 3 different RAM expansions, acceleration with RAM, and all kinds of. And sure enough, it didn't all work. There was one that didn't want to play nice with the others, and it had a bad chip on it. But this is old hardware too, so you're not expecting that sort of thing.
You know, we were talking about this on the Discord. The Amiga 2000 doesn't get a whole lot of love. It sort of fell in that weird middle period. It came out with the 500, and you had the 500 and the 2000 was like the tower version or the big box version. But these days, if you have one of these big Amiga machines, you either have a 3000 or a 4000. It seems like.
Well, the 2000 is a good machine. You're right. It has a lot in common with the 5, but you still can accelerate the crap out of it. You've got all those expansion slots. It's a big, bulky, beige thing. Right now, I personally, I'll take the 1200 strictly on the basis of the limited desk space it takes up. But old Aaron, who was just a power fiend, I would take the box every day of the week.
Yeah.
You got to have those expansion slots.
You notice what his monitor is called down there? It's just gone out of focus. Black Diamond.
Yeah.
You know about Black Diamond?
I don't.
He's Charleston's only Black Neil Diamond tribute band.
No kidding.
Yeah. You
Really?
never saw Black Diamond perform.
No.
I've seen him several times at Wat Powell Park.
A Neil Diamond cover band?
Black Neil Diamond tribute.
You know, I'm not a huge. I mean, I like some Neil Diamond stuff, but I don't know. I mean, how are they? Are they good?
Oh, he's great. It's
Right.
it's a one-man show.
Oh, it's a one-man
He's the
show.
Black Diamond.
I see.
Yeah.
So he also makes monitors on the side. Well, I mean, I know obviously he doesn't. Okay, so moving along. But anyway, Huck's had a couple videos, and I believe the Huck is currently in post-production on a third video.
Ooh.
So there will be more coming from the Huck. And Huck's hardware stuff's always super popular too in the boat.
It is.
So we're back in Ireland here. You talk, and I'm going to let you pronounce. This is the fellow that ran Amiga Ireland. How do you say his name? Is that
So-
Ilyara?
So this is Erla. Erla. And Erla Orida. I
Yeah.
think that's how you say it. And he is the founder of Amiga Ireland. He started the whole thing 4 years ago. And
Great video. I'll watch this.
It was
Excellent.
really fun to talk to him. We sort of get off subject. I know that shocks you, being me, but we get to talking about all the Irish craft beers and like traditional boating in Ireland, which I found to be
Somewhere
terribly fascinating.
Eric Nelson was giving you the big thumbs up
Oh,
for all
yeah.
that beer talk.
Absolutely.
I noticed that in the foreground, our lovely blue ball with a huge wad of tape keeping the USB cable in. Way to not miss that one. Good Lord.
That's just the style of production you'd
Oh,
expect
man.
for an Amigos deal.
It is a good interview. I mean, he's a real down-to-earth guy, isn't he?
Yeah. He's very, very kind. You know, he gives so much of his life to this event. You know, for most people, Amiga Ireland's 2 days, but for him, he spends the whole year getting it together. And he's just a really cool guy, and he's way into to Irish culture. So I learned a lot from him too.
Outstanding. Staying with the event, you've also posted this week the Amiga Ireland 2019 mod competition. And I watched some of this live when it came out. It was great. So if you want to check out some of the, were these all made exclusively for the show?
I believe they were. I believe that this was a competition where, say, you know, create a new work to enter into this thing. And so I think there were 7 tunes. Only one of them ran into technical difficulties. They weren't able to play it on their myriad of, what do you call these programs that play the mods? Trackers.
These are trackers.
Yeah, trackers.
Amazingly, I've got a story that dovetails into this nicely.
Oh, do tell.
Pixels at Dawn. God bless this man for finding this one. He has found, and I don't know how long it's been around, but I saw it making the rounds in the news site, so it must be fairly new. The Bassoon Tracker. This is an Amiga music tracker that you play in the browser. Oh, so good, so sweet. You can you can access online databases and mod files. I can play randomly.
Oh, wow.
It's got Octameds. It's got 32 voice. The big dogs. I mean, this was. It's funny. I was having a real rough time getting motivated at work this week to work on these instruments I've got, and my partner had to leave to go do something. So I turned this thing on. First time I'd ever tried it. Put it on random, set it up, and this stuff was. You talk about getting fired up, man. I was working my butt off.
I'm having trouble locating this on the page.
It's kind of it doesn't have a picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why.
Okay.
But
There it is.
on
I
there.
see it.
That's it. And
So this is at steph.be/bassoon tracker.
hit play right there. The little play button. Just no. The
I've already
play
messed
button.
it up.
Up, straight up,
Okay.
right there.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that's minute smooth. Yeah. Man.
I'm gonna listen to this.
And if you go up to the view, stop this.
Okay.
Go up to the view there, and then go down to file operations. This is a little how-to. Now, see that? You can see that on the left there, you can see the different databases you can pull from. And on the right, those are all different mod out. Then you can, there's a zillion of them.
That's awesome.
And you can also link this up to your Dropbox. I've got a ton of mods. I've got my Dropbox linked up to. I'm going to put my mods in there so I can listen to the ones I have.
Oh, that's
got.
fantastic! I'm gonna be listening to this. Screw Easy Rock Paradise. There's a new music going on.
I can't get Greg on board with this at work, so this is a solo act. But yeah, so this is a must visit. I highly recommend this. So we let me see if there's anything else we did this week. Okay, yes, we covered Star Wars, Stardust Wars. I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago. We actually we sort of gave this a go, and it looks. I think who was playing this?
This is Duncan.
Was this Duncan? It looks pretty. I mean, it looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's simple in a way, but I mean, it looks good. And there's even if you skip towards the end, there's a trench run.
Wow.
You know, so I mean, that's pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
If that came out back in the day, you'd have had something there. You know,
Very impressive.
Yeah, it's really good. So and free, so you can grab that. It's well worth your time. Now here's something I saw sort of making the rounds, and someone shared this in their Discord, and I had to put it up here. Retro Saint Kingo is a fellow on YouTube, and he hit the mother load this week of Commodore goodies. He has a video up of him. I don't know if he made a deal for just stacks of
Can you
like
imagine?
Inbox, Amigas, C64s, and apparently these were all getting ready to be liquidated.
Oh my
so he
gosh.
jumped in, and I mean, we're looking at the video now. If you're listening on the podcast, it's just literally looking at stacks and stacks of Amiga 500s and C64s, 128s. You know, it's quite remarkable.
It's so cool. Look how much smaller that C64 box is than the 500. It seems
Yeah.
like it's about half the size.
Well, it's smaller. It's a smaller unit.
That's
though,
true.
and
The
all.
500 is an unwieldy beast.
It's not unyieldy. It's just it's a bigger unit. But anyway, this is an interesting video. I'll tell you, that's the first time I've ever listened to or looked at any of his stuff, and he's a real friendly chap. So if you want to check him out, it's a good listen. Now, you know, this one came out of nowhere here, Boat. This is from over at Vintage is the New Old. We love those guys over there. And RGCD Publishing has apparently they publish some of these indie titles, and they've picked a couple out to put on the Amiga. Tiger Claw is one, and Power Glove. Tiger Claw, if you scroll down and look at it, it is Bruce Lee.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that looks great.
I would love to play
Yes.
that.
So these guys are selling these like boxed copies of this. I mean, this is like the real deal. So I've got the link on there to the story, and you should go check it out. I have to say I've not played this. I don't think I've heard either one of these games.
No.
I don't know if they're just now coming out, but I mean maybe they're on
I
other
did
platforms.
look at this story, and I know that the downloadable copies of the game, they're either like very cheap, like $3, or it's sort of a pay-as-you-can type service.
We may have to try out both those.
Yeah.
Because I mean, hey, we'll throw a few bucks.
Oh
in.
yeah, yeah.
And I would like to certainly try the Bruce Lee one. And in Power Glove, I mean, we're looking at the box and the stuff, and they look great, don't they?
Yeah, very professionally done.
And so, I mean, look at that, Bode. I could get all into that, and I know you like it
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
That's right up our alley.
Yeah, it is.
So anyway, I couldn't believe it. I just stumbled. I like Vintage is the New Old. I go over all the time. So here's one more. This is a nutty one. This is our buddies over at Lemon Tube Amiga, and we've talked about that guy before. Here he is emulating. He's emulating the Genesis / Mega Drive on his Amiga.
Wow.
Now this isn't an Amiga with a vampire. This is an Amiga. It's an 060.
So this is not an Amiga with a vampire.
No, it's not. That's what I
Oh,
said.
okay.
He's got an 060 accelerator in there. He says this will also work on an 040 with something else, but what he's running is an 060, and it runs well. I was surprised how well it's.
That's crazy.
I know, man. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can you believe it? So if you are fortunate enough, one of the fortunate few to have an 060.
Now the 060, did that come stock in any Amigas, or was that just an aftermarket accelerator?
I don't think it
chip?
ever. Well, I mean, it was available in the day, so it's not like something that just came out.
Sure.
Was it stock? I don't think it was ever stock. But
Okay.
I mean, you never know with those, like the later 4000s, 4010.
Maybe it was a BTO sort of thing.
But I mean, I'm not. You know, that was out of my price range, so I didn't pay that much attention. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, I thought that was really really
that's
neato.
awesome.
Okay, here's one, and you actually, thankfully, you posted it, but you want to talk about this other interview from Ireland?
Yeah, so this is the most recent thing that I put up from Amiga Ireland. We were very fortunate to have a Discord conversation. It was funny because this is one of these things at the last minute. Skype was not working. Surprise, surprise. And you know, and Erla was like, "Does Discord do video?" And I was like, "No, it doesn't." You know, I'm always the first with the wrong answer. And then Pixels were like, "Actually, it does." And I was like, "Yes, it does." And so we were able, Erla was able to call up Volker, and we had a nice chat with him. He took some questions from the audience, talked about the development of Settlers. This guy, he does not give a lot of interviews, so it was very cool to see
this got over, didn't it, live?
Yeah, yeah.
I heard the other fella, the founder, talking about this. Also, I would say Volker's got some awesome hair.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know, they know how to do hair in Germany.
It's lush.
Yeah, it's lush, and I'd like to run my fingers through it.
We don't know how to do it here, clearly.
No, not in this room.
We need Volker to come out. But I mean, yeah, it's awesome. And I know people were really pumped about this interview.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, check that out if you haven't.
Just a couple of house cleaning items. We were very fortunate that our buddy Graham was so kind and sent us so many yummies last week. And so we made a little video of that in case you weren't here live, and it is up. His timing was impeccable because I've been set and look at those goodies. And I'll have to say I have snuck a peppermint cookie or two along the way.
Yeah.
My kid's sucking up minties like a Hoover.
And it was such a, because there's no way he could have planned this with sending it from Australia, but we opened it on Australia Day. What are the chances?
I know it's quite remarkable,
Yeah.
isn't it? And it was great, and we appreciate Graham. And so if you want to see us, the ever popular Boat and Aaron Eat Food segments, there you go. One last item, I think we've just got the one. ARG presents. Now this week, I wasn't expecting huge numbers this week, but they've been okay. We took a weird, wacky look into the realm of the Sam Coupe, or Coupe, if you will. The Sam Coupe is a nutty ZX Spectrum enhanced version from the UK that sold practically nothing. But you'd probably not heard of this, I'm guessing.
I'd never heard of this before.
Having seen this, you want one.
I
don't
wanted
you?
one immediately. As soon as you said it's an enhanced ZX Spectrum that did not sell well, I was on board.
If you compare that to your ZX right now, you look at it. I mean, I know this is obviously has more memory and
right.
But I mean, just the makeup of it looks tremendous.
It
that
does.
Keyboard is usable, bro.
It looks so cool.
The drawer floppies. All those ports in the back, that is solid gold money. You can't have one, unfortunately, because they cost a fortune.
Right. We were lucky enough just to know someone that has one.
I will say, emulating it was much easier than the time I've had this week emulating the CDI, which is what'll be I had to change my game this week, Bo, because I couldn't get it to emulate. But this week, me and Brenner, we're really going off on a tangent.
Let me ask you a question here in the lower left here. What is this little robot dude?
That's the Sam Coupe mascot guy.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really get into him during the show, but because I really found out about him later when I was producing the show. But he was a little. I guess his name's Sam the robot. He's their
Makes sense.
He's their little mascot man. I didn't just put him in there just because I thought it'd be funny. There's some relevance. So anyway, if you want to learn about the Sam Coupe, and I will say this week's show, I've learned a lot about the CDI that I didn't know. So I think it'll be a fun show. And it completes our failed CD machine revolution with many of the other machines we've already covered, the CD32 and the FM Towns Marty. And all
Have you done the Jaguar CD yet?
No. God, no. I don't know how well that even emulates either. I thought the CDI would have it. Think about it. The Sam Coupe emulates better than the CDI. Think about that for a minute. It's mind-blowing. So anyway, that covers it, I think, Boat. You got anything to add to that?
That's it. That's all I've got.
There is one thing to add. Tell them what you streamed.
Oh, yeah. So
this is important.
So yesterday, I hooked up there's a whole journey that has gone on.
Lee, tell them the story.
Okay. So about how long ago did Gary say? It was probably about a year ago. I'd
say it's over a year.
Maybe over a year.
I'd say well over a year.
He sent us a ZX Spectrum.
Yeah.
And this thing was great. And I immediately tried to plug it in. It has the composite mod already set.
You did play it, and I believe you did capture with an external camera.
Yeah. However, it was all PAL, so it was all black and white and weird. And so it sort of lingered in both our homes for a time.
Yeah. It's a nice showpiece.
Yeah. Until I was thinking about it. And it was after I got back from Amiga Ireland, and I was so high on using original hardware. It's high on other things too, but so I went online and I discovered that they do make CRTs that were produced in this country that can run both PAL and NTSC. Yes. They're mostly like studio monitor type monitors, and so. I looked at some PVMs. Those are like the Sony CRTs that people love. However, those are really expensive and they're really small screens. They're like 8-inch screens.
Yeah.
And I wanted something a little bigger. I wanted
Those
something,
are like professional monitors used for like video production.
Exactly,
right? Yeah.
exactly. I wanted something about the same size as my Commodore 1702 monitor, the tried and
About
trusted.
15 inch.
And 13 inch, 13 inch. And so I did some searching around, mostly through Atari Age, because this has been widely discussed, and I ended up getting a JVC TMA13SU. So it came in. I was so excited to play it. Then I discovered that it didn't actually have usable connections for composite. They use something called BNC connections. Have you heard of these things before?
I have.
Okay.
I've stumbled upon these in my travel.
This was new to me. I'd never heard of this type of connector. Luckily, eBay came to the rescue, and $5 later, I had 4 BNC connections so I could hook up a normal composite signal.
What's the fourth one for?
Well, there's 4... that's a great question. I don't know. There's 4 of them back there. Oh, you know what it is?
I don't.
Okay, I'll tell you. There's 2 ins and 2 outs. So you can actually run a signal into this thing and then run it back out to a capture card or something like that.
So I didn't know if it was like an S-video thing.
There's S-video, but S-video doesn't use BNC. It's just a S-video.
Okay.
Deal. So anyway, hooked that up last night and fired up the ZX Spectrum. The 1982 Sinclair Research screen popped up immediately. I was ecstatic. I hooked it up to the capture card. I adjusted it to the right. Guess how many PAL signals there are? There's like 26 PAL signals.
Really?
Yeah, so it turns out PAL D is what I wanted.
Oh,
not
I'm glad
PAL
you mentioned
M or
that.
something
Yeah.
like
Is it
that.
the same on the Atari?
Well, the Atari is not a PAL system, so you don't have to worry about that.
Oh, good point.
So now, what's the next step? You fire up the computer. What did I have to do next?
You have to hook your phone up to the audio
That's
jack.
right. I don't have a cassette player. I do have some cassette tapes. In fact, I want to thank Pixels at Dawn for three ZX Spectrum tapes.
Ooh, Enduro Racer.
Yeah, Enduro Racer, Daley Thompson's Olympic Challenge, which I played a couple of these before. These are always fun. And Crystal Castles, which is one of the all-time greats.
Remind me, I've got a bunch more at the house that we've been gifted over the years.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, I downloaded a program. This is only on Android, but luckily I had a cheap old Android phone laying around, and it's called ZX Games, I think is what it's called. And it basically is an archive of all of these audio files for cassettes. You can literally load up any game, and you connect it into the ear jack of the Spectrum, hit play, and away you go.
Do you have to download the games?
No,
or?
you just like push and play on a YouTube video.
Not bad.
Yeah. Now, the downside of this is you have to wait the full old school amount of time for these games to load.
Yes, I noticed that.
We're talking anywhere between 2.5 and 5.5 minutes to get some of these things to load. However, I enjoyed the stream because it gave me a chance to chat. You could admire the loading screen and all the various flashings that go on. Some of the loading screens are animated loading screens,
A lot of flashing.
Yeah. And so it was a good time. I had a good time. There were some of the guys in the chat, and we had a nice time. So check out that stream if you're so inclined, and there will be more ZX Spectrum streams.
And even sorted the audio out there towards the end.
Yeah, thanks to you. So that's the Spectrum stream.
I love it. So yeah, we got the Atari going. We're gonna be streaming all kinds of crap, and we can do some Amiga comparisons with stuff. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah,
it's gonna be awesome. We got a lot of stuff coming.
All right, Aaron, it's time. We can't dilly-dally anymore. We got to jump right into the world of Advantage Tennis.
The world of Advantage Tennis. I was telling Bo before the show, normally when I do research for one of these games, I can find a lot of good stuff usually, Boat, and I usually have a big wad of paperwork here. This is the first game I've ever had a single thin sheet. But
Looks like my notes for the show.
That much said, I've got a lot to say about this game because despite the lack of anything interesting in the trivia department, it makes up for it in the interest to me as a former tennis star. A lot of people don't know that
in addition to being a third degree black belt
at Brown,
Yeah,
not Brown, I was also a lettered tennis player when I was in high school. That's a fact.
Now, what does one do to get a letter?
Make the team. If you can make the team, you're
You get
in.
the letter. Now, did you have a varsity jacket?
I did not.
Oh,
I did not
wasted
have. I never
opportunity.
sewed my letters or anything. They're all loose and sitting at the house.
Nobody wants loose letters.
Because I've got letters. I think I was in the tennis team only 1 year. I was in the band for 4 years. So I got letters for that. It seems like I got another one. I'm trying to think if I wrestled. I don't remember. But anyway, I loved tennis in the 80s. I was a big fan. My favorite player was probably I liked John McEnroe, and I liked Gabriella Sabatini. I liked Chris Everett Lloyd.
Tennis was much bigger when you were of that age than it was when I was that age.
Sure, Yvonne Lindell, Steffi Graf. You had Martina Navratilova, of course, Billie Jean King. There was a lot of big tennis stars, and I liked I liked a lot of them. I used to watch it all the time, and then I sort of fell out of love with it. I don't know when. I'm not even blaming tennis. I just lost interest, I guess, at some point.
Well, pro wrestling had to,
Hey, they can coexist, man. So I like tennis games, and I have professed my love for a couple Amiga tennis games. So I was looking forward to this one because I hadn't heard of it. And I'd say, if I had to pick my all-time tennis game on any system, the Dreamcast had a tremendous series that Sega actually made. I'm trying to think what it was called, but I'm sure you've played it. It was the big deal on the Dreamcast. It was a great game.
Yeah. That was the first game I ever saw when somebody had the VGA box for the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
And they were playing that tennis game.
Yeah. So when this one popped up on the radar, I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's see how this stands up. The one I'm used to playing is called is it Tennis Cup 2 or World Tennis 2?
Yeah.
It was a sequel, and it was Great Cup or something like that. But anyway, Great Courts 2. Mm-hmm. That's it. So I knew the Amiga could put out a really good tennis game. And like I said, I wasn't familiar with this one. So it's Advantage Tennis. This came out in '91. This was published by Infogrames, which is funny. I was looking at how many games we've actually done of theirs. It's kind of wacky because if you look down the list of the Infogrames games, there's not a ton of what I would call marquee titles on the Amiga, but we've covered Alcatraz, Hostages, North and South on here. So
wasn't Out of This World and Flash?
No, those were
maybe I'm just
those were the other French.
Those other guys.
I can't remember. Don't
the chattel.
Don't put me on the spot there, dude. So now a couple places didn't know who developed this, which is funny because their name is actually in the game, and I looked around to find
Delphine Software.
Delphine, thank you. The developer, as far as I could tell, was an outfit named Icos, I-K-O-S, Icos.
I know that because that's what they name your guy.
That's right. And also, if you look at a background on the tennis court, their name is on the advertising panels. As far as I was like, I'm going to look into this. Because, I love Hall of Light. They always list the developer, and they had developer as unknown. And on Lemon, they've got the developer listed as Infogrames. So I was like, what is going on here? So as far as I could tell, though, Icos did this game, and I can't find anything on them at all. As far as I can tell, they only did 2 games, and that was the Atari and the Amiga version of this game. So I don't know what happened to them. So if anyone out there has any info on them, it'd be interesting to know. Maybe we'll get you in at some point. This runs on standard Amiga hardware, nothing special. This got a bunch of nutty conversions, and I don't know. I think this was converted, just from what I can tell. I think this came to the Amiga from the ST. I don't know if the ST version was the original or the...
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was watching some videos on this game, and one of the videos that I saw was the ST versus the Amiga version of this game.
Yeah.
The ST version outperforms the Amiga version, so I would wager that the ST version was produced first.
I saw that video, and I would agree with you on that. I thought it looked a little smoother. There's also the fact this came out on a PC, so they could have all been ported from the VGA version of the PC. But get this boat. Here's a wacky one. This thing also came out on our old buddy, the FM Towns Marty.
Really?
I couldn't believe it.
If there was ever a goal for a band to have, it would be to track down an original copy of Advantage Tennis for the FM Towns.
I would like to own an FM Towns Marty, but I would settle for an FM Towns period or the Travel Marty. I'll accept any of those. So one of these days we'll cross paths for those things. We're going to go to Japan.
Yeah.
So what is Advantage Tennis? Basically, it's a pretty, I'm not going to say no frills, but it's sort of lower frills version of tennis. You can start the game, you can pick a character name, and then you can sort of tweak your characters strokes, basically.
Sure. And
which I thought that was pretty cool.
They give you all these options. Like instead of a forehand shot, you can do it between the legs.
The old Agassi.
Yeah.
I picked that, of course.
So,
Yeah.
And one thing, and I noticed this with the other tennis game that I played out on the stream. With tennis games, it's different than playing, like say another solo sport like a golf game. And in both of the games that I played, maybe this is like an Amiga tennis thing. You're almost rolling a character. I mean, you've got all these different stats. And You've got a certain amount of points to put into each thing. It was very.
I like that.
It was cool. I don't know how much of a difference it made to my game, moving things around, but it was cool to be able to have that kind of fine-tuned control.
I had high expectations from that screen because, for starters, aside from, and like I said, you take a certain amount of points and you can roll those into the different stats. But when you pick what your guys' different moves are, you've got like one or two-handed forehand, one or two-handed backhand, the type of smash he does. So I mean, effectively, I think what you're doing is just picking an animation that will trigger when you attempt to move the ball in a certain spot. Mm-hmm. But it's cool. It's very cool. I really like that. I liked setting up the character. I liked also having the ability to tweak the stuff. So tweak the stats. That was cool. When you start the game up, you really don't have a whole lot of stats. You've got training. You've got like a tournament season, or like a season of playing. And the preferences screen, which is pretty much bare bones. There wasn't a whole lot there, any consequence. I noticed that a copy protection thing pops up a lot. That's irritating, but thankfully that's out of the system. And then so I would try, the first thing I tried in all these games is an exhibition. And put my guy into play. And I noticed right away, and I would watch the boats game, and I noticed that this was running super duper fast. And so that was into using the real Amiga. Time to go.
Yeah, when you said that this runs on all Amiga hardware, it really doesn't. You really need it. Yeah, you were trying to run it on a 1200. It wasn't
so
good.
I ended up running it on Amiga Forever, and of course it ran fast there too. So I had to go in and really doctor it up to get it to run at the appropriate speed where it was even playable. And then once I got it playing, I could sit down and look at the game. The first thing I noticed, and of course you've got your choice of courts. You got your choice of the number of sets you want to play. If you're familiar with tennis, you'll know that you can pick 1, 3, or 6. I think, and you can also pick different play. And when you go to tournaments and stuff, they're in different areas. There's New York. There's a loading screen. There's London. I played one there. So then you start the game. This game is real interesting in the way it renders the court. What it reminded me of in some ways is almost like a 4D sports game. I mean, what they've done here is it's really quite clever. They've got pre-rendered animations and for your players that look they're pretty smooth in a way.
Well, it looks, and I don't know if this is a look that it's inspired by rotoscoping or if this actually was rotoscoped. But it looks like it. It has that kind of Prince of Persia, the way that the guys move their arms up and down, and it's also light on the details, which is another hallmark of something that's been.
It is funny because the characters is kind of I would not say the animation's smooth. What I would say is it's fluid, lifelike faux. Like they try. What I mean, FAUX. I mean they don't quite. I don't know if they don't have the horsepower or just didn't have the know-how, but it doesn't. I don't think it looks that great. It looks good, but not good. Well, it's hard to explain.
It looks like that was what they were going for, a very smooth style, and didn't quite succeed.
And I will say, like you, I watched the ST video. I thought the ST video, it looked smoother on there.
The PC version looks a little. This is really kind of the dud of all of the 16.
How's the Towns Marty look?
I should have looked. I had no idea. I would have checked it out.
So the second thing I noticed is when you move in the back, when you're moving around your guy, and of course you're going to play on the court side facing you, and you're also end up playing on the far side. I like games, and you don't see this very often, where it just always keeps you close. I'd rather just play on the front close side. I hate playing on the far side.
Me too.
But anyway, and in 2 players, you don't have a choice. But in 1 player, cut me some slack. As you move around, the screen will scroll, and there's sort of a how would you describe what's going on with the back? I mean, it's almost, reminded me of sort of like Virtua Fighter when you move on that platform,
so,
and the background sort of kind of moves.
What they've done is the camera, if you can picture the camera in this world, the camera is almost mounted on an NFL pulley and rope system, to where it will the camera will pull in as you approach the net. It's something that I don't remember seeing on any other tennis game from this generation that I can think of. Most of the time, you have a really set perspective, and all the action comes from the players moving around. Again, this game does a lot of stuff that is really unique and cool.
I agree. And so it follows you in, and when you go off to the sides to get a real deep return or something, you can go out there to a certain degree.
And it's not just a moving forward and back. The camera will rotate left and right.
Well, it moves side to side. I don't know if it's rotating, but it's moving.
Well, no, I mean the perspective of the court changes.
Yeah, it does. So that sounds pretty cool, right? So the second thing I noticed was the angle that you start off with stinks. I don't like it. I think what they've done is, I don't like the viewing angle to see when you're serving and hitting. To me, I'd like the angle to be a little steeper, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? I want to see. I can't see very much of the other side, and when I'm used to playing great courts too, and so serving on this was crap. I didn't like the serving not one bit, because it's almost, I can't tell what kind of serve I'm putting out there or where it's going. And you also had, like a lot of games, that you would hit the button, the guy would throw the ball up, and then you hit the button again at the apex, and he would. This one you sort of had to hit it pretty close together to get the ball to go in. It was difficult.
It's a very narrow window.
I mean, once I did it once, I could do it, but I didn't feel like I was aiming a serve anywhere.
Right.
And then the other problem I've got here is, once you serve or return, the computer is a relentless killing machine. I felt like me on the tennis team coming out to take on the best player on earth.
Now, you briefly mentioned your time on the tennis team, and I cut you off because I was curious about the varsity jacket, to be honest with you.
You can set me up, man. I've still got those letters if you want to.
I thought you might have sewed them on the band uniform, gone for that look.
That would get you killed.
That's
Plus,
true.
they're made of plastic.
Yeah. When you were on the tennis team, do you remember any highlights?
Absolutely. I beat a couple of the best guys on the team because my gimmick was, because I'm not fast, I'm not particularly athletic, but I have no regard for my own safety. And so I would dive, I would jump, I would kill myself. I would throw the racket in my other hand.
Oh, wow. I like that move.
I had to. I wasn't fast enough to actually get anywhere. And so I also had a deadly drop shot that was unreturnable. If I could get it in the right spot, I'd spin that sucker, it'd bounce off. And I beat a couple good players, but generally I was not good. And then I formed a tag team with my buddy Hose. And he was also on the team.
Wow.
Hose had a cannon of a serve. I mean, he was unbelievable. The problem, it was not like when he bowled. He bowled like you're shooting the thing out of a howitzer. But his aim is horrible. And so at least 2 or 3 times per game or per set, he would hit me with the serve. And it hurt. Yeah. It hurt so bad. You'd be amazed that a fuzzy ball could do that kind of, I mean, I have big welts. I think you could see Wilson on my back tattooed. And so also we had no cardio, and so we would, if we couldn't get you early, we're boned. And so I don't think we ever, as a team, ever won a game or ever won a set. What match? We'd win sets. But we had a good time. The tennis guy had his favorites. Stupid jerk. He had to like the people that didn't stink. And the rest of us were relegated to the opening bout on the card. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. But I mean, so with that in mind, I do have some experience.
I mean, obviously, your tennis knowledge trumps mine in spades, just because you actually have played before.
And my uncle was sort of like semi-pro. He was quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never, I've set fourth on a tennis court Boy, none of those words made sense.
I've
set foot on a tennis court.
Spit out that chaw,
before,
bro.
yeah. But I've never actually played a real game of tennis before. I've held a racket a couple times.
Well, unfortunately, Advantage Tennis will continue your streak unabated. Because much like I talked to Brent last week on ARG about a game, this game is not is it the worst game I've ever played? No. It's got a lot of things going for it. But I just don't think it's fun. And that's my biggest problem with it. And maybe it's because I'd played better games than this. But I just didn't think it was that fun. I mean, I think it's got some decent music at times. Mm-hmm. It's got a really fun tune where they took the digitized sounds that the judges make while you're playing, and they kind of melded those in. Mm-hmm. That amused me. Another problem, another thing I didn't like is there's no doubles in this, which great.
And this game would have been great with doubles because a lot of tennis games they sort of exaggerate the height and the size of the player, and you really take up more space than you should.
Yeah.
In this game, the players are of accurate height. Against the court, they could have easily fit two people on each side.
Yeah. So doubles is always fun.
Mm-hmm.
I could get past everything but the actual fact that I mean, listen, I'm not the best video game player on earth, and I'm not the best tennis player, but I'm okay. I can win a game or two, and the computer was it was relentless, and so I thought, okay, I'm doing something wrong, and I think who was it? Was it Matthew Perrone? Somebody put the manual up for this in the Discord because I was struggling.
Because on Hall of Light, only the French manual is available,
and I looked at this manual just to see if I was missing something. And I mean, the strokes in this are standard tennis fare. Lobs and drop shots and stuff. They're just like you would expect them to be with how you use the joystick. So I knew what I was doing. It just the computer would hit these killer shots. This is the computer on the lowest level. I mean, it was still just crushing me. So how did you fare any better than me against the computer?
No, and I maintain strongly that we have just not cracked the code on this game. I feel like we're just missing something.
Because other people don't stink like we do.
Right. And I don't know, I was reading the manual, and I think you can just stand there and it will return the shot. You don't have to hit the button. And it's just like the way that you hit the button. But, of course, we both tried everything we knew, and we still couldn't win. But I feel like there's a game here somewhere. I just was not bright enough to figure it out.
It's funny with sports games because Madden does this too, where if you don't touch a controller, your guy just will take off. Mm-hmm. It's weird that you're almost secondary to the game.
Yeah,
it's like, why don't you play ourselves? Because I don't like I thought that the computer would just take over my guy. It's weird to me.
Yeah. It's either one of those things where you either accept the fact the computer's going to control you 100% of the time and you don't touch the stick, or I want to have complete control. Having it in the middle is weird.
One thing about a game like this, and I will say this plays, I mean, I was getting murdered, but one thing about real tennis, and if you ever watch any pro tennis, you'll understand this. Shots are won and lost by the placement and the heat you've got on the shot. So if you serve a dud up a lame duck, the computer murders it, and you look like a jerk. Well, you served crappy. If your forehand is weak and the computer smashes it, then you threw up a weak shot and he murdered it. That's the way tennis is. If you're playing someone that's good,
right?
And so really, all you can hope for is that they don't get to it or whatever. And that's what happens in this game. And unfortunately, I had trouble putting up really good, strong shots. And the computer, I think one of the reasons we were getting killed is that the computer just capitalizes on your weak shots. And when the computer returns these shots, you can't. I mean, a lot of times they're so far off the side of the court, you couldn't make it in a million years, and you just lose. And so I agree with you. I think there's probably given enough practice. And if you play tennis, there's sort of an area where you don't stand. I mean, this game forces you to use tennis-style thinking. Mm-hmm. Stay in the back court. Don't rush the net unless you're sure. Don't mess around in that mid-court area where you are screwed because you can't. They're gonna eat you up right there. That's the way this game plays. It is very strict on those details. I watch people play this online and have more success than me. I didn't see anybody out there murdering the game, but they had better success than me.
Right.
The game has a lot of interesting. It's got a lot of little touches. The ball can hit the top of the net and go over, lets and stuff like that. The crowd reactions. If you have a good point, the crowd cheers and goes, "Ooh!" Does that stuff. I always like that sort of thing. Plus, Infogrames is a quality studio. They wouldn't have published this if they didn't have something good. I think, and the scores on this reflect some love for the game. A lot of people really like it, so I don't think it's a complete dud. I'm not going to sit here and pan the thing, but it was infuriating to try to. I spent a whole week just getting crushed. I could barely win a game.
You know, one of the things that that really, it's sort of a hallmark to me of a game that I enjoy is like, if I'm losing, do I still want to keep playing?
Yeah.
And I felt that way with this game. You know, I would get killed, you know, but I'd still want to keep playing just because I thought that the movement was so fluid. You know, like you could move around the court so quickly. I didn't feel frustrated, even though I did feel frustrated, but I didn't feel super frustrated, although I was never able to lose or to win.
It's funny when you play a tournament, and of course you're seated last, like 100, and you go in there and play someone that's a higher rank, and they've got to, and it's the way they've got it broken up is nice. I mean, it's a proper tournament with winnings and stuff. Whenever I entered the tournaments, I always just got
It was
super
over.
mashed.
Yeah.
If you're an exhibition, I could maybe get a point or two here and there. I mean, it was. I guess that's my takeaway from this game. It's too hard, and the computer's too good. And so unless I'm saying, and I know people that probably owned this back in the day, they paid their money on it, sat down, and they just mastered it because that's what they had. That's the way people played games back then. But I would have to spend an extraordinary amount of time to get anywhere on this game. I did mention that the scores in this were pretty good. Lemon gives this a 7.78, so it's popular there. Amiga Action reviewed it at a 74%. Amiga Mania, brother, gave it an 87%. Amiga Power clocked it at a 69%. CU Amiga gave it a 91%. I read that article. I mean, they really liked it. And then this was on the limit, so I wrote it down because it was so bizarre. User 25.
Never heard of that before.
May 1992 edition of User 25, 89%. I looked this up on eBay and got nothing. No current listings and no past listings for this game.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Well,
it may be a rare one.
let me tell you what some of our Discord users had to say about it.
I'll be interested to hear these.
Matthew Perron says, it's a tennis game with great animations and pleasing music, but not much in the term of gameplay, since your guy seems to move and hit the ball mostly on his own. Pushing the button doesn't seem to do much. There's a season mode, but since you get destroyed on even the easiest opponent, there's almost no point to it. 4 out of 10.
Wow, that sounds so similar to what we just said.
He says play Tennis Cup instead.
Yeah.
Chris Full says, a terrible game, lacking in basic playability. Don't waste your time on this. Avoid. 2 out of 10. Graham Vebke says, 2 of my all-time favorite games are Final Match Tennis on PC Engine and Super Tennis Champs on Amiga, and comparing this game, it lacks on all fronts. Playability, controls, and most critically, the viewing perspective of the court, like you said, all lead to a frustrating and flawed game. 4 out of 10. Paul Harrington, his review.
He's a heck of a player, too.
Getting this game to work on WinUAE was the most fun I had. The voice announcing the scores was a nice touch, though.
Yeah.
And finally, Pixels at Dawn. Oh, and Paul rates it a nope out of 10. Pixels at Dawn, the final review. He says, great sound design, music, and animations, a decent match engine that made you use the whole court, unlike many tennis games, spoiled by a near vertical difficulty curve and a terrible camera.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the technology behind this game is probably pretty nice stuff, but it didn't do it for me, Bud, on this one. That's a miss, sir.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Aaron, last week was my first week back from Amiga Ireland. We had a brand new Patreon song challenge. Do you remember the song?
I didn't know it then.
You didn't know it then. I wish somehow that I didn't know now. What I do.
No double singing. That's out.
So I want to congratulate Paul Harrington and Colin and Matthew Perron for guessing the correct title. This was the Roy Orbison classic, "Oh Pretty Woman."
That's what that was?
That's what that was.
I'm glad Roy's not around to see that one.
That's true.
Or here.
Yeah, you died too young.
Yeah.
I really think you would have appreciated my rendition. I should have worn some sunglasses, though.
You should get a Roy Orbison wig, too. That sounds like something for Amigathon right there.
That does.
Bo Orbison.
So this week, I've got a brand new song for you, Aaron. I've been working on it. I've been working on it hard.
Okay.
This is if you know this week's Patreon song, you can send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com. And we haven't mentioned the Patreon lately. If you guys enjoy the show and you want to throw us a couple bucks, you can check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Amigos Podcast. We really appreciate your support. You can pick the game that we play every week, be part of the Amigos game selection committee, and really be an influencer.
And the Discord. Be an influencer. That's a new one.
Hey man, I'm with it. I'm hit.
God.
Join the conversation.
You might as well shield the t-shirt store too while you're at it.
Everythingamiga.com/swag. You can get yourself a nice Amigos podcast t-shirt. Aaron, you're sporting the Amiga Ireland shirt this week. Looks great on, and it's never looked better.
Thank God I lost some weight to fit into this bad boy.
Yeah. So anyway, Aaron, here we go.
Clear. That doesn't instill confidence in this upcoming tune.
Counting virtual sheep, Bernard Quinn. Retro Man Cave, Tim Drew, Dan Williams. Robert Edgerton, the third Simon Rose. Joseph Harrison, Kyle Eder. Rob O'Hara, Howard Nibbs. Matthew Larimore, Randy Craig. Shanzo, Darren Lomax. Colin 419, Buck Bid. Roland Burke, Andrew Monk Show, the Zombie. John Cook, Dan Ross Leaf, Kelon Allen Kabam, Chicatote Levelor, John Marshall, Matthew Perron, Ricky DeRocha. Creepy Dead Boy, Figgy, CTZ, The Slow North, Stefan, Sir Gordon Mortensen, Edvin Helen, Blender 75, Christopher Hessel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Foles, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham Webkey, Brent Dowdy, Lane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Huckus, Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Stiles, Alan Kebab, Anthony Jarvis, Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THC and Eric Nelson, Kim Tommy Humberstad, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, and Darren Coles and Jason Warnes, Pixels at Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman. Yeah.
What is it you do for a living again?
I teach soul singing at the local disco.
Oh, man. I've got nothing to say about that. Just move along. Nothing to see here.
Next week, Aaron, we're going to take a look at one of the newer games. This was a long lost title on the Amiga.
All right. Newer game. Okay.
Yeah, this was a newer game. This is Putty Squad.
Oh, now did you play have you done Amigos?
I've never played this before, but this was a game. I guess it was almost completed, and then it was lost for years and years and years. And recently,
I think we covered that, didn't we, when it came out? I mean, we didn't play it, but I mean, with the news.
Possibly so.
Yeah,
possibly
cool.
So.
Putty Squad. It sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
sounds putty good.
Putty good.
You see what I did there?
I love it, guys. You can watch us live if you'd like every Friday. We record around 5:30, except when we don't. You can join the chat. All the cool kids are in the YouTube chat. We got Vamped Amiga. He's vamped and he's ready for action. Pixel Vixen is here.
Look at what Craig said. You're destroying it. Never has a chatter been so apropos to his comment in my life.
Graham Bebke is here. Edvin Helland. Let's see who else. We got Craig McClellan. Will Williams is here. Barkbit is here. Pixels at Dawn. Guys, thank you, Necronom. Thank you so much for joining us. Henrik, of course, is here with us. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a party. Stay tuned if you're live in the chat. We're going to be streaming some Atari 8-bit games with Larry. Special guest Larry is here in Amigo Studios, so we'll be doing that directly following the show. But if you're leaving us now, we bid you a fond farewell. Until next week, adios.